Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. So, alhamdulillah, today's session, inshallah, we'll cover the Islamic understanding of how to go about what's it called, finding a husband. And inshallah, then hopefully in the future weeks we'll cover also how to go about getting a wife as well. And there'll be other topics that will come up throughout it, which should be a bit interesting as well, inshallah. So let's see how we get on. So, obviously, the main thing is that as Muslims, our way of understanding is going to be different. We base our understanding on what Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala has commanded, what the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has taught us. So our way of going about things is totally different. What we've always got to remember is whatever we do in Islam, we've got to look at what the overarching purpose of everything is. So basically, we understand that life is a test. We all want to please Allah. When we pass away, we want to go to Jannah. So in understanding that that is the main thing, everything else then fits into place. So it's like understanding that you've got to get to London, right? That's the purpose. What you do on the journey and the turns and everything you're going to take is all going to be towards getting to London. If you start seeing signs that you're heading for John O'Groats, you've done something wrong. Yeah, that's a bit up the north. So it's not towards London. So like this, when we are doing anything within our life, we've got to see, where am I heading towards? Am I heading towards Jannah? Am I heading towards the commandments of Allah, or am I going away from it? If I'm going away from it, it's natural. We're all human beings. We make mistakes. The shaitan comes, he tricks us, whatever. We have desires. Sometimes they get the better of us. We just ask Allah for forgiveness. We don't beat ourselves up over it. We don't do it again, and we get back on track. That's all that life's about. Until we eventually do this enough times, we pass away and we reach Allah, and Allah is happy with us. So what does Allah say, and what does Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say regarding looking for a potential husband? So the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he gives some criteria of what to look for. So he says in a hadith, when a person whose religion and character you are pleased with proposes to you, marry him. If you do not, there will be tribulations on the earth and far-reaching corruption. So this is narrated by At-Tirmidhi. Some people might be thinking, so if I'm doing this, why am I including the brothers in this? Because it's important for the Muslim brothers to understand what kind of people they should be. Yeah. So, and when we do the next session, when we're talking about what the Muslim brothers should be looking for in a wife, it's about the sisters going, this is how I should be. Because the Prophet, peace be upon him, is asking us to look for this in one another so that it will be better for us. Okay. So when I'm going through this, and although it's going to be mentioning what women should be looking for, that should make the brothers think that, okay, this is what I should be like. So what about us who are already married? Does that mean that we're out of the picture, that we don't need to learn anything? No, it does. It means that we should be being like that person. And similarly for the women that are already married, it should be that I should be being like this person. So there's always a place for improvement. So these are the criteria, the things that Allah sees as important. So the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he taught us about this. So when it comes to getting married, then the two things to look at, the two main things are the religion of a person, the deen, and the akhlaq, the character of a person. Okay, these are the most important things for a Muslim woman to look for when looking to get married. So what does it mean when we say the deen of a person? Yeah, basically, are they Muslim first of all? Yeah, that's the most important thing, because in Islam, a Muslim woman is not allowed to marry a non-Muslim man. Yeah, even if, let's say, for example, there were two people that were non-Muslim and the wife became Muslim, then according to different opinions, there would be a certain amount of time that the husband would be allowed to become a Muslim. And if he became a Muslim in that time, then their marriage would continue. And if they didn't become a Muslim within that time, then their marriage would automatically break and it would cease. Similarly, as the situation, if a person were to leave the fold of Islam as well, then this would result in the nikah being broken as well. So it's very important to understand this, that first of all, the person should be Muslim, and not just any Muslim either, a practicing Muslim, right? As in, what are the 5 pillars of Islam? Praying 5 times a day, fasting the month of Ramadan, going on Hajj, yeah, paying the zakat. But as well as that, what about all the other things in that person's life as well? So this is where we talk about the character of a person, because you might find someone who is very religious, yeah, prays, reads Quran, but they're absolutely horrible person. So the Prophet is not telling women to marry that type of person. Someone who's, when you look at their deen, you think this person fears Allah, they worship Allah, and they're a pleasant person. They're the type of person that I could actually see myself living with, you know, rather than saying, no, this is a type of person that would would drive me absolutely crazy, and it is not going to be good for me. And we'll talk about some of those qualities as we move on, inshallah. Sometimes people, they get a bit worried when it comes to marriage, and they kind of overthink things. So, for example, for the sisters, it is important that when getting married, to understand that the financial obligation of running the house lies on the husband. Yeah, the financial responsibility of managing the kids is the responsibility of the father, whether or not he's still with or not with the mother. The responsibility is still there until those children become adults, and obviously the responsibility to the wife as long as they are still married. So therefore, that means that naturally you should be looking for a person that has some means of income. But does this mean that the person needs to be super rich? No, it doesn't. And there's going to be a verse of Quran that, inshallah, tells us why that's not the case. And it says here that, and marry those among you who are single and virtuous ones. Among your slaves, if they be poor, Allah will enrich them out of His bounty, and Allah is all sufficient for His creatures' needs, all knowing. This is Surah An-Nur, verse 32. So obviously there's mention of slaves. We're not going to go into that too much, but in the time of the Prophet there was slavery, not like the slavery that happened in Africa where people were sent to America or to other parts of the world. This was more like when a person became a prisoner of war, and they became enslaved. So when a person wanted to get married, so let's say there was a slave who's now Muslim, and they wanted to get married to them, then you're not allowed to marry your slave as long as that person is still your slave. So then in that case, they would be set free. They would be given the option if they wanted to marry, and they could choose to marry. So the slave is always seen as a kind of a lower person in the sense of the fact that they were captured during war. Yeah. So they were obviously part of the enemies of Islam. But even then, they've now become Muslim and you want to get married. Even it's better to get married to someone who's a slave and a Muslim than to just, go out of the fold of Islam looking for someone. So that's important. And it says Allah will enrich them. So some of the scholars, they explain that this is especially for the men actually, but it's important for the sisters to understand as well that, Allah is the one who gives us our sustenance, right? And maybe some of the people that are in here that are married, they might maybe attest to that. I know that that I didn't have everything financially in order when I got married. Yeah, I had some sort of job and things like this, but I didn't have it completely the way that I wanted. And I've got to be honest with you, when the moment I got married, alhamdulillah, Allah opened up the way. And I can say that every child that I've had, I've got 4 children, every time, even before they were born, you could always see that somehow Allah was increasing, either getting another job, the salary went up, something worked out. And alhamdulillah, we were able to manage, alhamdulillah. So the thing is that this is something that we have to have belief as Muslims, that Allah is the provider. So therefore, not to worry too much. Sometimes from the sisters' point of view, they say, okay, financially you're responsible for it, so you need to put a house in my name, a car in my name, and I need to have, so many £1,000 worth of gold, and etc., etc., etc. You don't need to go that far. Yeah, just make sure, is the guy a worker? Does the guy actually go out and work, or is he a bum? Does he just sit about and not doing anything? If that's the type of person he is, don't get married to that type of person. Yeah, that doesn't show good character either. In Islam, yes, we rely upon Allah, but we also take action. And for Muslim men, the Prophet ﷺ encouraged them to work. So working is a very important thing for a man that they should go out and do. So that's something to be focused on, but not so much has the person got their house and has the person got this and that. But could they look after a wife and maybe rent a house and have some sort of way of living? If they can, alhamdulillah, that's good. Inshallah, Allah will give them more as they get married and as they have children. Because some people, they used to kill their children in the time of Prophet ﷺ of worry of poverty. And Allah told them, don't do that. Allah is the one that provides. Yeah. So don't think that by having children, I need to make sure I had this much, that much, and according to my bank balance. No, Allah inshallah will provide for you. So these are not things to worry about. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he advised Ali radiallahu anhu. Ali radiallahu anhu was the Prophet peace be upon him's cousin, and he was also his son-in-law. Ali radiallahu anhu got married to Fatima radiallahu anha, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he gave advice to Ali radiallahu anhu, and he said, "Oh Ali, do not delay in 3 things. Firstly, salah when its time arrives. Secondly, the deceased when it is ready. Thirdly, in the marriage of a single boy or girl when a match is found." So these are 3 things that we shouldn't delay in. So obviously the one that's important to us here that we're talking about is when you eventually find a match, inshallah, then get married quickly. Yeah, there's no, well, I'll get engaged now and then we'll get married in 3 years' time and da-da-da-da. Just, okay, you've agreed to get married. Inshallah, we're going to talk about all this process before it, But once you've done everything, you've checked everything, and you're now both satisfied with each other, and you've made an agreement with each other, then what to do now is, as soon as possible, get married. Do your nikah. So the second thing was about the deceased. So when the person dies and they've been washed and prepped for funeral, do the janazah quickly, get the person buried. And the third one was the salah. When the time starts, get your prayer done. So these are three things where a Muslim shouldn't delay in. And sometimes in the delay part of it, this is where things fall out. You know, sometimes the person goes, oh, I'm going to get married in 6 months or a year. And then they start talking to each other, and then someone might say something, and they've not created that bond yet, and oh, I don't like him, I don't like her, da, da, da. Other people put nazar on it, they come in and they say, oh, why are you getting him? You're someone better than him. Why are you getting her? You can get someone better than her. And then before you know it, it all falls apart. Something that I would advise, it's up to you, but always keep the good things in your life only to the very few people that need to know. Those people that you actually know never wish you anything bad. Everybody else, including some family members, you don't need to tell them every part of their happiness. Just get on with your life, because you attract less attention. Allah knows, you know, the person you get married to knows, and maybe a few other people. Okay, the man should be able to fulfill the rights of marriage. We talked about the material rights. I'm going to explain it a little bit more, and then we're going to talk about physically. So materially, the person should provide for the wife's accommodation, food, you know, drink, bills, etc., and clothing. These three things. Now, does it mean that they should be buying £1,000 dresses and eating, you know, out at restaurants for £120, you know, a night or whatever? No, that's not what it means, right? But what it means is that according to what's normal, yeah, according to what's average, yeah. So it shouldn't be either that I'm just going to go and I'm going to buy Tesco's basic, yeah, and everyone's going to eat, you know, just like, you know, dal every day, and we're not going to eat, you know, lentils every day, and we're not going to have chicken and meat. No, it shouldn't be like that either. Whatever's normal. So like today's day and age, whatever's normal to live a life. So like, for example, a rented house somewhere, 1 bedroom, where you've got your own bedroom, you've got your bathroom, your kitchen, all that, your lounge. That's enough. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, you've got clothes to wear, a couple of clothes to wear, you know, different seasons of the year. That's you're sorted. And then obviously food and whatever you would normally eat. So the basics, that's something that's important. When I say physically, this is something that comes up. We're not going to cover it in detail right now, but this comes up in the process of when you're working out if the person's the right person. When you get to the stage where you are getting closer to get married, you have an obligation to reveal any major faults that you have. So, for example, if there are some major faults that could affect the person when they're married, and they could say, well, you didn't tell me about that before, that would be something. So from the man's point of view, if he knows that he's got some sort of medical problem, for example, impotency, or he's got some sort of other issue, then he must declare it before he gets married. Because if he doesn't and he gets married, then the wife is within her right to say that I'm not continuing with this marriage, and they leave it. Similarly, on the other side, it's the same from the woman's point of view. She must declare any issues, because they could occur later on. So, for example, so let's say a woman's had cancer or something, and she's not able to have children, or she's had like a mastectomy, or there's been something major, you know, then, or the person has some sort of contagious disease. Let those things be known, so that the person can make a decision whether they're going to go into it or not. Not to reveal it is actually not correct. So that's what it means by ensuring physically and materially as well. It's here that women are generally weaker than men. We're talking about physically, right? Physically. They have natural inclinations towards protection and security, which is usually what they look for physically and emotionally from their husbands. Yeah. So this is something that is natural. So with regards to that, then there's certain ways that the man should obviously be, which means that it's better if you're getting married to someone who you look up to and you actually feel that this person can take care of me, and, you know, they could protect me if things were to get a bit bad. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you'd be like Bruce Lee or something like that, or Mike Tyson, but, you know, enough that the person's like an actual man. Do you know what I mean? So that's fine. Then you would look for these things, and also emotionally is important as well. This is something to look for is the person emotionally mature enough for marriage? Now, that doesn't mean that the man is going to be exactly like the woman. That doesn't work like that, right? We're different, yeah. We're not the same. And there's things that we both have in the genders that really rile the other person up, but are very important, yeah? So that's not something we'll get into more detail about that, but generally we're talking about, you want to be looking for someone who you believe, do you know what, this person could run the house. This person, I feel safe that I could have a child and I could be vulnerable, I could be pregnant, I could give birth, I could, wean my child, and this guy's got things sorted. If there were to be any danger, this person can, look after me and protect me, and this person's going to provide for me. That's the type of things that women should be looking for in men as well. Preferably, now again, this is debatable, but the scholars say that preferably the boy should be a year to 4 years older than the girl. So this is talking about when they're like maybe teenage years. As the years go on, the age doesn't matter as much. Obviously, huge changes do, but generally it doesn't matter as much. But generally, yeah, you want to try and get married to a guy who's slightly older than you, if possible. Other things to look for that Islam has taught. There's a thing in Islam called, I'm trying to remember the word for it now. Basically what it means is this person suitable? Right. So in Islam and Sharia, there are rules of suitability. Right. So for example, let's see. So let's say, for example, Prince Harry, should we say, he was a prince, wasn't it? Prince Harry decides to get married, right? But instead of getting married to someone in royalty, he decides to get married to someone who's, away down there and nobody knows them and all sorts of problems and stuff like that. That can create an imbalance. So in societies, it depends which society you live in. Sometimes the class that you get married into can make a big difference if they don't match. So for a woman, generally, what they say is that the woman should aim along the way and up the way. That's not a problem, yeah? But the guy shouldn't aim up the way. He should either get married to someone who's on the same level or maybe someone who's in a lesser level. Now, you might think, why? Or that doesn't sound politically correct. The idea is that you want to be grateful in the relationship you're in. Yeah. So let's say you came from, your dad was a king and you were a princess, right? And you had everything going for you. And then you decided to get married and you got married to, some Abdul who's just, normal, basic minimum wage, living in his 1-bedroom flat, in the East End. I shouldn't say which part, but anyway, living in a part of Glasgow that, yeah. So you would go, wait a minute, that's like that. She's not going to be happy every day when she wakes up. She's not going to be thinking, oh my, he's my king. You'll be thinking, what the hell have I done? Do you know what I mean? I was having such a good life. So you always want, so basically you want to try and aim for something that's going to get you a bit of a better life, or at least the type of life that, that you're accustomed to at the moment. Sorry? Yeah, no, these are no, you can, there can be exceptions to the rule, but this is generally, right? And if you really want to like long term, that's what it's talking about. So these are things to be aware of. These are things that the scholars have taken from Islam. So these are the reason I'm mentioning it to you. Sometimes it doesn't matter as much in our day and age, but it did matter more in the past. Okay. This also includes with regards to has that person been married before or not. Sometimes that can be an issue. Seems to be more of an issue for guys, to be honest, than it is for women. Women are sometimes a little bit more understanding. Guys don't seem to be as understanding sometimes. It just depends. So generally, so for example, if there's this would be more for the men if they were getting married and they've never been married before, then they should get married to a woman that's never been married before. Yeah, that's kind of what it's hinting at. Also with regards to piety, yeah, you want to have someone, again, who's around about the same similar level. So if you get married to someone who's like proper, like, worshipping Allah all these times, whatever, doing so much, and you're just a normal person getting by with your 5 times the mass, you kind of want to look for someone who is around about your level or maybe a wee bit more. That's fine. It's compatibility. That's basically what it's talking about. And also ability and character as well. Someone who has a similar character, some preferences, things that you like. Okay. Let's see how long have I got here, just so I can check. Okay, halfway. Okay. When I mentioned about the importance of a person's religion, so why is that important? That you want to get married to someone who fears Allah, right? Imam Hassan al-Basri, rahmatullah alayhi, he stated, marry your daughter to a pious person, for if nothing else, at least on account of his bond with Allah, he will not abuse her nor fail to fulfill her rights. Because look, marriage is not guaranteed that it's going to work. Sometimes it fails. No fault of people, sometimes it just doesn't work. Whether it's the destiny of Allah, things happen. So the thing is that at least if the person fears Allah, there's hope that they're not going to react and behave in a way that's un-Islamic. Yeah, they're still going to fear Allah, so they're going to go, I'm not going to oppress this person, because at the end of the day, I still fear what's going to happen to me on the day of judgment. So this is what Imam Hassan al-Basri, rahmatullah, he meant. Again, when getting married, it's important. Sometimes you'll get married to someone who's Muslim, but it's good to, at a later stage, find out, do they actually believe in Islam? And I know that sounds a bit strange, but, you know, sometimes you'll find Muslims who are just very much like, yeah, I'm Muslim, but, you know, yeah, because my dad was Muslim, my mum was Muslim, and that's the only reason I'm Muslim. And they don't believe in anything. Yeah, they're right. They're just saying that I'm Muslim. A bit like you meet people and they say, you know, I'm Christian. All right, so do you believe in the afterlife? No. Do you believe in this? No. So like, you're not even Christian then. But I'm Christian because my mum and dad are Christian. So it's like, you've got to be careful that when getting married, ensure that the person actually truly does believe in the fundamentals of Islam. See what I mean? That's important. Where are we? Again, I mentioned things like worship. Does the person pray? Do they fast? Do they pay their zakat? That doesn't mean that just because they do that, they're going to be compatible. But that's usually a good sign that a person's conscious of Allah. Not to say that someone who doesn't isn't either, but you should be doing these things. Again, good character. Is the person a sensible person? Do they have integrity in their dealings? So part of the process of getting married is that there comes a stage where you are looking to have your first meeting with the person, right? So generally what happens, right, is that from a woman's point of view, is her wali, her guardian, who's usually her father, will be involved. It doesn't always have to be the father, because let's say you're what's it called, not Muslim, and so there would be someone who could be appointed as the wali to help you in that process. So there has to be, it's a male, there has to be a male involved. What's the benefit of this? Men can very quickly tell what men are about. They're very good at reading each other. Terrible at reading women, but very good at reading other men. So you can very quickly go, something up with this guy, he's a fly man. He might have all the, you know, he might have the patter. He might be able to, you know, say all the right things and push all the emotional buttons. And then he comes in front of a guy and the guy goes, this guy's an idiot, man. He's a bum. He's just messing you around. So it's very important to have someone there. The best person is your father. Failing that, it would be like your grandfather, but it could also be any male relative, really, that's sensible enough for that's appropriate enough. So the Hanafi, they allow the woman to get married without the permission of her wali, of her guardian, but the other madhabs don't actually allow it. The wali is very important. So trying to take your family along with you in the process is important. But for that, nowadays, there probably has to be a separate course for the wali to make them realise what they're supposed to be doing, because it isn't always done properly. Yeah, so what I was saying is the wali would be involved, which is very important. So what would happen is that the wali will basically be talking to the guys. So he'll get an idea, he'll speak to his daughter or whoever it is and say, look, what is it you're looking for? Blah, blah, blah. Right, I got an idea. He then is the one who's got all the male contacts. Yeah. You as a woman shouldn't have all the male contacts. As a man, I shouldn't have all the female contacts. Makes sense. Yeah. We're not supposed to be talking to one another unnecessarily or mixing with each other or being alone with each other. So what would happen is that, because we're only talking about the woman here, when she's going to get married, she's got to rely upon the males in her family who know the other males. So, and they should be people that are caring towards their female relatives. So they're going to be looking for the people that they believe are good. So they're going to be doing a lot of the vetting, right? A lot of the, right, okay, yeah, no, I don't think so, mate. Okay, you know, blah, blah, blah. They'll do all that for you. And you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get a constant feedback. And the benefit of that is that you don't become attached to someone first. Because the problem is that once you're in love with someone, nobody's going to be able to convince you that they're wrong. Yeah, it doesn't matter what they do. No, he's not like that. You don't understand. You don't understand. Right? So you don't get into that stage first. Your heart's not attached. When your heart's not attached, then you're able to think logically. Yeah, because that person isn't anything to you. But when you start talking to someone, when you start meeting someone, attachment starts coming. So before even getting to the attachment stage, your wali will be dealing with working out who the people are, which becomes a little bit more difficult nowadays because people use online platforms. Some of them are haram, I'll just be honest with you, right? They're just Islamic ways of getting a date, right? I don't know that doesn't sound right, but that's basically what they are, right? Or that's what they turn into. But there are ways around about it. So you can sign up to these matrimonial websites, but your wali signs up on your behalf. So they have the password, they're dealing with everybody, not you, and your picture doesn't go up. men or women, you don't need to put the picture up. And what will happen is that they will then deal with the people that get in contact. Yeah. It's quite funny. None of you, I was going to ask you, have any of you been a willy, but you haven't. But I'm doing it on behalf of people, and it's absolutely hilarious, the contacts that you get. You know what I mean? And then when they realise they talk to a guy, then you're able to clear it all up. Did you actually read what the message was? No, I didn't. Well, no, it's not interested. So you can get kind of clear things out. Okay, so it's important. So what would happen? He'll do this, and then he will then find someone think, I think that person's good. Now is the point where then he then turns around and goes, listen, daughter, sister, whatever, there's this guy, I think he's good, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, what do you think? That sounds good, that sounds all right. Okay, shall we arrange a meeting now? Yes, we'll arrange a meeting. Okay, so in the meeting, your wali will be with you as a woman. Yeah, so you won't be alone with that person. Do they need to sit within earshot? No, they don't. Right? So, like, for example, let's say someone was meeting their prospective partner here. The wali could sit over in the corner and they could sit there at the table and have a chat. As long as they're within eyeshot, they're fine. They can now have a conversation. They can get to know each other. In the period between saying, yeah, I want to meet up with the person and actually meeting the person, then you become an investigator. The women love that. And become an investigator. You need to then start digging. Is there any dirt on this guy? And I'm being serious. Like, you actually have to dig. Is the guy got any criminal record? Is the guy a druggie? Has the guy got addiction problems? Has he got anger problems? Has he got violence problems? You need to find out, has he got a wife somewhere else? Has he got any, what's it called? You need to find out, right? And that's allowed. Some people ask the question, so what about if the guy lives far away? Like, you know, he's not going to travel all the way to there. I know some women might say, well, he needs to prove himself to me, innit? If he can't get a trip, then... Yeah, so the thing is, yes. But does that mean send your pictures? Because someone might say, well, I want to see what you look like. So we say, well, that's why we're going to meet up. But they say, no, send me a picture. You don't send pictures. We're not allowed to. It's not allowed to. It's not Islamic. So what would we do? How would you get around doing this? Get on a Zoom call. Get on a, what's it called, a Skype call, and have your wali with you in the room, and let them know my wali's here. Hello, hi. I'm just sitting in the back. Hope everyone's all right. Right. And the benefit of that is, it's called catfishing, isn't it? That was called catfish. You don't get catfished either, right? So the benefit of that is, so you think you're getting married to this beautiful woman and she's got too many filters on. You know what I mean? Faulty advertising or whatever it's called. That's it. So the thing is that no faulty advertising. You get on a call. You get on a call, whatever, you're having a talk, but preferably you're going to do it in person. When you're meeting each other, all the Islamic stuff and that, you've looked about all that, you've checked all that, you've found out it has the guy, you've got your investigator on you, and you've found out that the guy's cool, he's all right, right? If there's any questions you've got, you can ask them at that meeting if you want clarification. But the big thing you want to see is, do you click? Like, are you actually attracted to the person? Because sometimes people say, well, you shouldn't marry for beauty. It's important. It's very important. And because the thing is, at the end of the day, you're going to then have an intimate relationship. If you don't like each other, you're not attracted to each other, everything else might tick the box. If you're not attracted to each other, you don't take it any further. You don't need to say to the person you're ugly or anything like that. But what you do is that after you go away, you just say to your buddy, look, if you can nicely say to the person, you know, that we're not going to go any further. And he might do the same thing, but he shouldn't say the same thing either. But, oh, you look like this, whatever. That's not nice. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to hurt people. We're all Muslims at the end of the day. So what you would do is you would then get to see, and if you click and you go, yep, I like the guy, and she goes, and he goes both ways, yeah, we like each other. They'll go away and they'll say, yeah, I was actually interested, I'm interested. Okay, what we'll do now is, because you've been consulting all along with your family anyway, you should have been. So that's called mashwara. That brings a lot of blessings. But what you'll now do is what's called istikhara. So istikhara is a prayer that you do. It can be 3 days, it can be 1 week. Every night before you go to bed, you do 2 nafil. And then after it, you read the istikhara dua and you say, should I marry such and such? Yeah. And you go to bed, you don't need a dream, you don't need any of that. Some people, they're waiting for a dream. If you get a dream, that's good. If you don't get a dream, don't feel bad. But what should happen is after the week, you'll then have a feeling that should I go for it or not? If you've got a feeling, yep, going to go for it, then go for it. Yeah. Yes, we want to get married. Now, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, what if you do that and people still don't have that? They're not sure. They're just not sure.
then don't get married. No. If you're not sure at the end of it, basically that's what you're doing is you're going to follow. In istikhara, you're asking Allah, is this person right for me? And what happens is the benefit of istikhara is that in the dua, you're actually asking Allah, see if it's not good for me, take it away from me, take me away from it, and give me the good wherever it is. So what happens is you either get that or you get something better. You don't lose. It's a win-win. Either it works for you, or Allah will now guide you onto another place that will work even better for you, but you've done the right thing. And see, after doing your istikhara, see if you start hitting roadblock after roadblock, that's a sign that you shouldn't get married. Allah's basically telling you that, no. See if it just clicks and it goes. When you've done your istikhara, that's a good sign that Allah's basically saying, yes, you are meant for each other.